Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I wanted to go over a question that is asked on my channel quite often. Which orchids should I grow? That is a really good question, and I've been thinking about that today. The main thing that you need to keep in mind when you're buying orchids and choosing orchids is to grow the orchids that really speak to you. Orchids are a wonderful, challenging plant to grow. I absolutely love growing them. But the colors that you choose, the types of plants that you choose, they're very individual and unique to each grower. As you know, I like purples and blues and pinks. White phals always stop me in my tracks. So when you're looking for orchids to build your collection and add to your collection, make sure that you're just looking at the plant and saying, am I willing to spend the time required to get you to rebloom, to keep you healthy and to get you to rebloom? That is the main question. Also, when you're building your collection, as you see, I just have two vandas on this table with one of my blooming dendrobiums that I like to look at often here in my dining room. And last year I could fit 3 vandas on this table. As you see, there's not room for 3 vandas on this table. They will grow. So when you're looking at your grow space, make sure that you realize vandas grow very fast. And in 1 year, you're going to have a larger collection and larger plants as well. So make sure you take that into account, your grow space and what will grow well in the space that you have to grow your orchids in. Another tip on which orchids to grow. The answer to that partly is the healthiest ones that you can find. Let's say that you have 5 of them in front of you that look very much like this. This is my beautiful Phal Magic Art. I just got the ID on that. Thank you so much to my subscriber that passed that on to me. I appreciate that. If you have 5 of these in front of you, you're going to choose the healthiest one. Choose the one that has the most blooms and the healthiest foliage and the best root system that you possibly can. That is going to put you ahead of the game. Growing healthy plants is really a joy. When you have a sickly plant, you don't really know what you're dealing with. And sometimes if it has a virus, it can spread to the rest of your collection. So you want to make sure you keep the best, the healthiest orchids that you can possibly find and maintain. And another consideration when you're choosing orchids is how much time do you have to spend with your orchid collection? What you're wanting to do is you're wanting to get the collection that makes you happy, that fits into your time schedule. You are the only one who can really decide how long you want to spend with each one. Plus, you've got to remember, if these need to be repotted in the spring, how much time do you have to spend really on repotting in the spring and upkeep on your orchids? I have a number in my mind that I kind of keep in mind that I don't go over. Because I know if I go over that number, it's going to be too much for me. And what I would rather do is I would rather have the orchids that fit into my schedule and not overtake too much of my time. That's not any fun. When you're growing too many orchids and you see it as a chore, then I would suggest maybe you give a few to someone who's wanting an orchid collection, because it gets to be a chore rather than a joy. And really, when you're gardening and when you're working with your orchids, it should truly bring you a lot of joy to work around these wonderful, wonderful plants. The other suggestion that I have is to work with people that you know that supply orchids to your area, or with really reputable suppliers who know your area and who know that the orchids that you're buying from them are going to thrive in your area. Certain orchids require a lot of water, cooler temperatures. Others require higher temperatures, a little bit less water. So people who have been working with orchids for a long time and who have nurseries, they're going to know what the requirements of their orchids are, and they're going to be able to tell you if that orchid is going to work well in your area. So check in your area for really reputable distributors of orchids, and also online. If you're going to be buying online, make sure that you have a good idea of the orchids that do well in your area, or call the company and ask them before you buy. What's really heartbreaking is when you buy an orchid that doesn't do well in your area. You're spending all this time trying to get this thing to grow and bloom, and it's just not a good orchid for your area. And you're going to waste a lot of your time and a lot of your money in that instance. And another thing to take into consideration is, even if you find a wonderful, healthy plant, if the blooms don't speak to you, then don't bring the plant home. That happened to me a few months ago. I actually found a Vanda, and it was in beautiful shape. The roots were beautiful, the foliage was beautiful, and I looked at the bloom, and the bloom was not my favorite color. And I kept thinking, oh wow, this is a gorgeous Vanda, and I would love to have a fifth Vanda. But every time I looked at the bloom, it just kind of didn't speak to me. So I left it there. Actually, I talked someone else into buying it who liked the color. So I know it got a really, really good home. But just make sure that the orchids that you buy really do speak to you, because that makes it a very, very rewarding experience. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. It's warming back up here in Tennessee. I am so happy to report. And I hope you all are just highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed. And we'll talk to you all next time.